A warm welcome to all our viewers to our series Natural Medicine. I have a friend of our house here today who has a story to tell. He himself was faced with a terrible diagnosis. At least that's how I see it. And he's found a way out of this vale of tears. And I'm just interested in how he did it, because how he did it getting out of this illness can perhaps also be a way for you to help with your recovery and maybe find some support through today's conversation. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Now, I'd like to introduce you to my guest. It's Karl Müller. A very warm welcome, dear Karl. Thank you, Alexander. In one of our interviews upstairs while drinking coffee, you said... No, it was lunch. I wanted to take you to lunch, and you said, I don't eat anything, I only eat sauerkraut. And I brought it with me. And only then did I realise that you were actually still in the middle of a treatment phase. And maybe we'll start from the beginning. What diagnosis were you confronted with? Of course, I like to tell the story because I might be able to give other people food for thought. I'm not saying that if something works for me, it will work for others, but maybe some people can take something away from the approach. I had 8 polyps in the intestine, and I'm generally someone who doesn't like fighting symptoms, who doesn't just operate but first thinks about it. Where does it come from? That may also have something to do with the fact that I make elastic, springy shoes as a solution against orthopedic problems with degenerative diseases, with arthrosis, for example. I know arthrosis doesn't just happen, it has a cause. And with our method, the Kibunjoya therapy method, you can get to the root of the problem. And when I then heard that I had, or actually always had, a burning stomach, then abdominal pain, then I was told I should do a colonoscopy. Then did some research about colonoscopy. I also saw that if you find something there, so-called polyps, that you cut them out with a hot wire. And then I looked for a doctor who agreed in advance not to cut it out, because I knew from the internet and also from the family doctor, who said that if you don't cut out the polyps, they would turn into cancer. Then the offshoots would form, and then you would get cancer. And then I said to myself, if I should have such polyps, then I certainly still have 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 4 weeks to think it over, and don't have to think about right away whether I should get them cut out. And then I promptly had 8 polyps, 4 large and 4 smaller ones. And you're always shocked when you get a negative diagnosis. I'm not afraid of death, well, not in general. I don't know what it will be like when I notice that I can't breathe anymore, but I'm not afraid of a cancer diagnosis. I got another diagnosis too. Prostate. I've had massive abdominal pain for years. And also symptoms. I had to go to the toilet very, very often, and could only ever release very little water, several times at night too. And there was already the sign of the prostate. That was at the age of 67, 2 years ago. And then I just had a biomarker measured. There is a new method that is not just the PSA level in the blood. There is such a new method of a biomarker. If it shows over 10, careful with the noise of the microphone. Thank you. I believe I attached it nicely. The arms, leave the arms hanging down. Then this biomarker shows how big the chance is. It's not yet a biopsy because I don't want to do a biopsy either. Then the doctor just said there is a new method, not just PSA, to measure prostate enlargement, but a method that indicates with a high degree of probability whether you have malignant prostate cancer. And it wasn't just a bit over 10 for me, it was 72. So extremely high. And then she was amazed that I said I didn't want to go to the urologist, but because of my intestines, I was doing a treatment anyway. By the way, I then also saw videos by you with Dr. Karl Probst. I saw this method where he says you have to work with the intestinal bacteria. You have to make sure that they are healthy. And then I started. I'm self-sufficient. I produce 95% of my products myself, or even more. Then I went vegan for a little over a year, and half of my diet was fermented vegetables. I plant myself, I don't know exactly, but probably about 20 kinds of vegetables. I dry one part in the warm air, that is heated by the sun, and ferment the other half. And then half-cooked vegetables, dried and turned into vegetables again. Half sauerkraut, that's how 90% of my diet was. Then I took vitamin D, then a bit of copper, zinc, and what else I just found on the internet, and also saw in your programs. And a year later, that was about 4 months ago, I did another colonoscopy. And by the way, I also know a few doctors, also colleagues, friends too, and everyone said it was irreversible, so polyps don't go back. We know that from academic medicine. Polyps, this is an irreversible process. It cannot be undone. And I just had a good feeling about this whole method. And I also noticed that the stomach pains were decreasing. I also got back pain, which I hardly ever had, thanks to the elastic springy walking. I did a few things additionally. Fasciotherapy, I also give courses there. Then also stretching, muscle length training. It's like stretching for a year, and very, very consistently neither sugar nor carbohydrates. So in the vegetables, there are also a bit of carbohydrates, also in the carrots. I didn't eat any potatoes, a little bit of sweet potatoes. They also have a bit of carbohydrates in them, but very, very little. And the fermentation will make it even less, where the fermentation reduces it. And the microbes transform the salt that you use in the fermentation. The salt, together with the natural substances, converts that into vitamins too. Vitamin C, for example, sauerkraut has much more vitamin C than cabbage. And, well, lo and behold, everything was gone during the colonoscopy. Completely gone. After a year. After a year. Maybe it would have been gone after 6 months. I don't know, but it was gone. And I didn't have anything cut out. And I'm so thankful that it worked. And as I said in detail, I'm not simply saying don't do anything. I think you should do the things in life where you have a good feeling. It was just your way now, but that's exactly what we want to describe today. And the prostate, how is it? I don't know, I've never looked at it. These prostate values are a good indication. I would have to measure them again. They were 72 at the beginning, then after about 2 months it was at 50. And I haven't measured it anymore, but I no longer had the impression that I would have to measure it because the symptoms are gone. This frequent urination, this hardly any pressure and so on. It's not like it was at 30, but maybe like at 40, 45, 50. So not like at 70, it has got much better. But I'll do that again. But my impression tells me that that's gone too. I think it's something special. Even if I've already dealt in other ways with fermented foods, that this is a medicine, which is actually no longer on our screens these days. And that's something I could use myself as an affected person if someone told me so. You just came across this through your own research. What kind of reading did you find that said, now do that first? Basically, I believe that God, for everything that grows in nature, that he did it that way because it was meant to be used that way, and not packaged, processed food. So all this packaged stuff, I never liked this because I just believe that God made it this way for us to eat it that way. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, they say, right? By the way, apples, I produce them, I just want to add that quickly. I produce maybe about 600 litres of sweet cider. I freeze about 150. Also for the children, there is a lot of sugar in it. I don't drink that much. I partially ferment 50, 60, 70% of that beforehand. But there is still half alcohol and half sugar in it. And then I take a sip of it every now and then, because that's apple, and then ferment it again. And I convert part of it completely into alcohol, and then I let the alcohol evaporate a bit, and then I drink a glass. Instead of a glass of wine, I'll drink a glass of this cider. It's pretty sour, like the farmers used to make it, like it was taken out of the cellar. In the canton of Thurgau, it was called juice, and it is still called juice today. And there's a story about my grandfather who was seriously ill with the Spanish flu in 1918. He was born in 1892, so he was 26. So many died in the village and in Arbonne, especially those who went to the hospital in Arbonne died. They wanted to let him die at home. Then even Dr. Spengler came to see him and said they had already prepared the funeral. I read that in my father's curriculum vitae, which he wrote himself by hand. They said that before he dies, they should let him try juice. Then they brought juice from the cellar and fed him with this cider. And after 3 days, he was completely cured of the Spanish flu. And somehow this story still connects me. And that's why I drink a glass of cider every day. And I have a good feeling about it. It's that feeling again. I think you have to do a lot more in life when you have a good feeling, if you have a good conscience. I've had some famous doctors here before, Mr. Probst, Mr. Dalker, or Birke Benner, and they all really say that nutrition plays a very important role when you're sick in order to get well again, but also to prevent it. And your way, not only the raw food and only vegetable variant, you use fermented food, and that's even better in my opinion, because the bacteria ate it and they've actually already process the food in a way that it's easy on the intestines. And now that's actually coming down there. It's an alkaline diet. In my opinion, there is an excess of electrons. That is, if the human being is a battery and I put in electrons, then that is a process towards self-healing. And you made the way via sauerkraut. Yeah, I mean, I see everything just like you. Sauerkraut means that you ferment cabbage. And I don't just ferment cabbage, I ferment everything. Cabbage, carrots, then beetroot, then all the veggies I have, fennel, kohlrabi, everything except the sweet potato. I put them in the oven and eat them like this. What I noticed is if I then eat too much uncooked vegetables and raw food, it's not good for me personally. I then always mix in into sauerkraut and these fermented vegetables a portion of whatever is in the garden at the moment. At the moment there is still cabbage, fennel and kohlrabi. That's all there is now at this time in December leading up to Christmas. And if it then there is nothing more of that, then I mix these dried veggies, which is almost a little bit like powder, almost a little bit pulverized. Then I mix that into the fermented vegetables so that I always have a mix between raw vegetables, fermented vegetables, and also the cooked vegetables. What fascinates me so much is that I had Dr. Anne-Katharina Joche there. She's such an expert on bacteria in the body. She wrote many books about effective microorganisms, and at that time she also treated people very often with EM, so with bacteria, and simply sees that the human system simply exchanges an incredible amount of data streams via bacteria, and that bacteria are also a key part of our health. And as soon as one or the other thing is no longer right, the milieu of the bacteria is no longer right either. And that's why she works with bacteria in fermented foods that you deliberately didn't pasteurize. And that means it wasn't killed. Absolutely not. So you just ate these living bacteria. That means you did a colon cleanse. And now it's always said that health comes from the intestines, or every disease comes from the intestines, but you made your gut healthy. And with a healthy gut, the polyps say goodbye, and also the disproportion within the prostate. Yeah, I see it the same way, and that's how it came across to me when I was researching on the internet, and that's why I tried it out. I mean, lo and behold, it worked. Healthy intestines, healthy people. I'm enormously grateful that it did work. And it was, well, it was a bit of a life-threatening venture. But I've always had a good feeling about it. I have the impression that otherwise God would have warned me and said, watch out, don't overdo it. And if something like that succeeds, you could get into pride, and that's never healthy. And so I don't think that's a solution for life now. But I think it's a very, very important part that you look at this intestinal health and that you eat probiotics. A huge business is also being made from probiotics. You can also buy probiotic yogurt and small, completely overpriced little bottles like that. I think at the moment this is a wave and a huge business is being made out of it. But the EM costs almost nothing. Yeah, exactly, EM. I also use that in the garden. That convinces me again, because the bacteria, they're looking for a host. And by the way, also the viruses, they don't want to kill us, they want to live with us. And we need them and they need us, and that's why these stimulation therapies, they're also done in medicine, where one tries to kill them. Why kill bacteria? Why kill viruses? I have to change the conditions in my body so that the bad ones they go away and the good ones want to settle down with me. Now we're really getting to a crucial point, aren't we? This means that if I now eat food, let's say as a patient, with preservatives, then I also preserve the bacteria. This means that my intestinal environment will definitely not improve as a result. This means that if the intestines have a health-related contribution, then all preservatives should certainly not be eaten. Then I can buy fresh food, but if it's pasteurised, I've looked for sauerkraut in many stores. Most of them are pasteurised. But now I found it. In Switzerland, the wholesaler with a C on the front, I found it on the shelf. And it really says sauerkraut unpasteurised. The shelf life isn't that long, but it lives. Well, that's the problem. People don't want to have to think about shelf life. It's supposed to last indefinitely because it's much easier to cook and use, but I really see a problem there, and I think many, many diseases of civilization are related to this. Nutrition, where everything is preserved. I also think the understanding our hygiene madness also drove us away from foods that still have bacteria in them, because if I tell anyone about food with bacteria in, it's already a red flag. We don't have that awareness anymore that my mother or grandmother had with those jars in the kitchen, right, where food was preserved, but that's gone. In my sauerkraut pots, that's 20 pots in the basement, 20 kilos in each. When you open it, there are fungi on top, so partially, you might think that's verdigris or that's some kind of mold or something. And you have to be able to tell the difference with the scent, with the eye. And I know that this is a Flebia. And this Flebia is a very healthy mushroom that we need. Fungi, too, can be healthy. I think that also requires a bit of know-how when someone says, I'm starting to ferment now. There are many videos. I'm not a fermentation specialist myself. Over time I've become one, but there are many, many videos on YouTube and other channels that also explain such things. And then you learn to think a little differently. Just to say, even with a mushroom, yeah, I can eat that, or learn not only to look at the expiry date of edibles, but recognise from the smell whether it is healthy, unhealthy, or expired, still fine. I think a lot of knowledge has been lost. And also the joy. I mean, when you ferment something like you do, you really enjoy it, don't you? And when you eat it yourself and know what kind of work's involved, I think that's a completely different relationship to food, or vice versa. Now, there's a saying, let food be your medicine and medicine your food, by Hippocrates, an ancient phrase. So it's so important, in my opinion. And so far nowadays, we all talk, diet is important, we should pay attention. But how exactly it should look like or how to ferment, I think I have to do a fermentation course on TV someday, so that we lose that fear, relieve this resistance and just ferment a bit at home. There really is a lot in fermentation. It is really something very, well, like you said, joyful. You can make something yourself at home. Maybe you buy the vegetables in the shop, but how you can see how it grows and then also recognise on top, and even if it doesn't look so pretty, you don't have to throw it away. If you also learn to deal with these bacteria, the fungi, and even recognise that they are very, very useful to you. Thank you very much, dear Karl Müller, for telling us your story. And well, I wish you all the best in your life. I think if you keep eating like this, you'll reach 100 easily. You never know. And you too, dear viewers. This program should in no way prevent you from visiting the doctor. But please do take this information with you and ask your doctor if they agree that you, in addition to therapy or medicine, whatever you may be doing, also want to include this diet, namely fermented foods, unpasteurized, freshly prepared, with a very clear goal that this energy, these electrons, this force, this life not only cleanses your intestines, but also helps to defeat the disease. And I'd like that from the bottom of my heart. Maybe you can postpone one or the other form of therapy in consultation with the doctor for 6 months and see how things go. Only with the diet, but please, 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 always in consultation with your doctor. And with this in mind, I wish you all the best and every success. See you next time.